He is a shepherd boy from a village at the edge of the realm, yet when he stands before a beast of terrifying power, there is not a trace of fear on his face. With nothing more than a crack of his whip, he fells the mighty leopard monster right where it stands. It was when I was 10 years old that I first discovered I had this power. Back then, I could barely wait to tell my mother that I could make pieces of wood fly through the air, and not only that, I could summon fire and conjure wind. But the moment she heard all this, she flew into a rage, the first and last time I ever saw her truly angry. Once her anger slowly faded, she called me to her side for a serious talk. She asked me if I wanted to keep living by her side. If I did, she wanted me to promise her that I would never use this power again starting that day, and never let anyone else find out about it. When I asked her why, Mom asked if I still remembered the stories about the nobles and the knights. I told her of course I did. She then told me that whether one was a noble or a knight, anyone who possessed this special power was called a wizard. But nobles and knights were fundamentally different. Nobles were descendants of the Freyans, a sacred people who once descended upon this world to save humanity in ages past. Knights, meanwhile, were those of mixed blood, descendants of nobles whose lineage had merged with that of ordinary humans. That was why, even among wizards, the distinction between nobles and knights still existed. And that was exactly why she needed to tell me that I must never use this power, because I had inherited my father's power as a knight. Beyond this village there were many cruel nobles, and to them, knights were nothing more than slaves. So I had to remember this. I must never let anyone know that I was a wizard. You can promise me that, can't you? 8 full years have passed since that day, and I have kept my word to her all this time. Then one day, a young man in the village tells an elder that a monster has been spotted near the outskirts. The creature is shrouded in shadow, like a leopard the size of a house. The villagers are deeply unsettled, but the village chief has already gone to town to find a wizard. Once he brings one back, the monster will surely be dealt with. Hearing this, the elder warns them to be careful. Without a wizard, killing a monster is next to impossible. The young man says they have already warned everyone in the village, but there is one person they have not told yet. The elder is puzzled. Who is this person? The young man answers. Turan, the shepherd who lives up on Mount Hisariel. At this moment, I am lying on a stretch of lush, green grass, staring up at the pale blue sky with nothing on my mind. The same view as always. The same life, day after day. If this keeps up, I might forget how to hold a conversation. And just as that thought starts to ache in my head, a voice reaches me. You poor little wretch. The sun has not even set and you are already slacking off? When I see who it is, I wave him off. Stop blocking my sunlight. He scowls and says I have no manners. Are you still holding a grudge about what happened back then? What happened back then? I shoot back. You mean when my mother passed away and you tried to seize her flock, claiming it was village property? He clears his throat twice but offers no defense. So I go on. If that is what you mean, then yes, I still remember. I am not generous enough to hand over my mother's belongings, and we are certainly not close enough for pleasantries, so say what you came to say and get out. His face tightens like he wants to snap back at me, but my cold stare stops him cold. He looks away and tells me a monster has appeared near the village. Apparently a leopard the size of a house. Rop was the one who spotted it. I show no sign of alarm. I just reach down and pat the lamb beside me and say, that is quite the problem. He looks baffled. Aren't you scared? You are the most likely target out here. I have no idea where you get the nerve. Anyway, the chief has gone to town for a wizard. Just be careful. I came to warn you because I was worried about you. The moment the words leave his mouth, I tell him he is a terrible liar. Why not just say you are worried about the sheep instead of pretending it is me you care about? But since you have said your piece, get out of here. That foul mouth of yours is already polluting the air. Fuming, the old man turns and storms back the way he came. In this world, the creatures that earn the name monster are beasts that wield mysterious power and magic. If humans have wizards, then the beasts have monsters. A wizard coming all the way to this backwater village because of a monster. It seems I will finally get to see one with my own eyes. But if it's the village chief who hired them, they likely won't be anyone special, even if they are wizards. Still, I want to see them with my own eyes. Just then my nose catches something in the air. That scent is blood. I follow the smell. When I reach the source, I find the old man I had just spoken to, dead. He came to warn me, and ended up the one who got hit. The wounds do not look like the work of an ordinary animal. It has to be the monster he mentioned. Then I sense movement around me. As it draws closer, I see it. The leopard monster that Labus described, as large as a house. Inside one of the houses, a child asks his father, are grown-ups really no match for that monster? His father says yes. Ordinary people like us would not even leave bones behind. The child looks up anxiously. Then what will happen to our village? His father gives him a gentle pat. Don't worry. The chief will bring back a wizard. Wizards can deal with monsters. But the child tilts his head in confusion. Are wizards definitely able to beat that monster? Of course, his father says. They are born with the power of magic. They are extraordinary beings. A single word from them can wipe out the most terrifying monster. Meanwhile, I stand perfectly still, watching the ferocious leopard monster before me. I mutter a single word under my breath, and the leopard lurches back several meters, because in that brief instant, it sensed something from me, the aura of a predator. Watching it, I murmur to myself, so it doesn't work anymore? Then it lunges at me again, ferocious as ever. I bellow, stop! The leopard leopard flinches back another several meters at my voice. That settles it. It really has stopped working. Otherwise it would have actually stopped. Just then the leopard monster swings its razor claws straight down at me. The golden markings on its face twisted with savagery. I sidestep before the blow lands. Watching it rage, I let out a quiet breath. If that is how it is going to be, then I will handle this the shepherd's way. The monster sees me move and coils itself, ready to strike. I whisper to the stone in my left hand, harden, then wrap it tight with the whip in my right. Golden light blazes to life in my eyes. I swing the whip, step forward, and breathe one more word, faster. The moment the whip cracks, the stone tears through the air like a cannonball, hurtling straight at the snarling monster. A thunderous crack, and the stone grazes the leopard's ear, spraying blood through the air. The monster erupts in fury, unleashing every claw and fang as it charges at me. But what I was aiming for was never the ear, it was the skull. In an instant, the stone drives clean through its head. I look at the monster lying dead before me and mutter, that is the first time I have ever used this on a monster. Now, should I drag you off to some ravine or what? I grumble to myself. Those people in the village are such a headache. After dealing with everything, I head back to my home up on the mountain. Because of the promise I made to my mother, I have never told anyone I am a wizard. Never used my power in front of others. Just as I am about to rest, there is an urgent pounding at my door. Turan! Turan! Someone calling my name over and over. The moment I open it, I find a crowd of villagers glaring at me. They have come about Labus. I let out a yawn and ask without flinching, what, are you here to accuse me of killing Labus? Before I even finish, the burly man leading the group seizes me by the collar and shoves his face into mine. That's right, you piece of filth. You hurt that old man and fed him to the monster. I hold his stare in silence for a moment, then say, I know exactly why you're trying to frame me. You were too afraid to fight, so you ran, and the oldest man in the village paid for it. Now you are terrified of looking like cowards, so you are pinning it on me. Livid with rage, the man draws back his fist, ready to beat me senseless. But I casually step out of the way, my expression never wavering for a second. For me, magic is simply the most convenient way to settle things. When I want something badly enough, it happens. At the cost of mana, I murmur one word, fall, and someone in the crowd goes down. Dealing with people like these does not require fire magic or any great show of force. A subtle nudge of power is more than enough. It ensures their survival, while putting them firmly in their place. And this is how, over these 8 long years, the way I have hidden what I truly am. I look at them sprawled across the ground and sigh. You'd be better off saving that breath for Labus's funeral. I turn to the women standing nearby. Are you here to fight too? They quickly wave their hands. No, we just came to check on you. I go quiet for a moment, then tell them to take these idiots home. After clearing up that mess, I start to undress and settle in for the night. I know full well this will stir up trouble in the village again. They will try to squeeze money out of me the next time we do business, but I don't care. I'll just beat them until they settle on a fair price. Just then, a voice interrupts my thoughts. I mutter, have those people lost their minds? Back already? I throw the door open ready to unleash on them, but to my surprise, a middle-aged man stands there instead. I ask who he is. He pauses, then says, sorry to disturb you. I was going to ask for your help along the road, but now doesn't seem like the best time. When I hear he is a wanderer, I go quiet. I offer a brief apology, explaining that I just sent some unwelcome visitors packing and thought they had returned. These words of courtesy were things my mother once taught me. I'm not sure how well I pull them off. Living in this wretched village, I've never really had cause to speak decently to anyone, so the whole thing feels a little awkward. Looking at what he is wearing, I find myself curious. Why would a wanderer carrying a sword come all the way out to a place like this? I ask if he is looking for an inn, and before the words are even out of my mouth, his stomach lets out a long, low growl. I sigh, reluctantly stepping aside to let him in. Once I set some food in front of him, I tell him my home is humble, so I'm afraid there isn't much to offer. He shovels it into his mouth and says between bites, this is already a feast. Then he asks, have you really never met anyone from outside the village? I tell him that's right. I grew up on this mountain, and have been a shepherd my whole life. This town rarely gets visitors from outside. He looks up at me, clearly finding me interesting, because for someone who grew up as a shepherd in a place like this, my manners are surprisingly refined. He compliments my parents, saying they must have raised me well. I tell him it all came from my mother, but she passed away a few years ago. The man pauses and makes a small gesture of prayer, saying, to have raised a son as fine as you, she must be proud of you in heaven. He thanks me again. I tell him I'm only living the way my mother taught me. Then I ask, genuinely curious, what brings you all the way out here to this remote little town? He tells me someone hired him to come deal with a monster that looks like a leopard. The moment I hear that, I go completely still. I ask right away, you must be the wizard the chief mentioned. He confirms it without hesitation. That's right, I am that wizard. May I ask you something? I agree without much hesitation. He tells me he can sense that the monster was in this area, but he cannot detect it anywhere. What puzzles him even more is that I clearly know about both the monster and the chief's plan, yet here I sit, completely calm, not going anywhere. If that monster were targeting humans, you would be the most exposed person out here. Aren't you afraid? For a shepherd who has never left this town, your composure is extraordinary. So who exactly are you? Are you a wizard? His words take me back to when my mother was still alive. Back then I asked her why no one could could ever know I was a wizard, and she told me it was because of the cruel nobles. If nobles are like shepherds, then knights are like the dogs they keep. They may love you like family, but when the time comes, they will sell you or throw you away without a second thought. So mom doesn't want that life for you. Turan, do you want to keep living like this? Just the two of us? If you do, then remember this. Never let anyone find out you are a wizard, especially other wizards. If they find out, they will tear us apart. They will turn you into their hunting dog and discard you the moment you are no longer useful. To keep from being recognized as a wizard, there may come a day when you are forced to take a life. The man asks again, why have you gone quiet? Was my joke just now a bit much? He scratches the back of his head with an awkward laugh. I stay quiet for a moment, then offer an apology. I do not really have a sense of humor. He shakes his head and says the apology should be his. Sorry for making such a joke at your expense. I manage a small smile and tell him that is the first time a wizard has ever joked with me, so I was caught off guard. He laughs and says my reaction was just too entertaining. He could not help himself, though perhaps he went a little too far. He reaches out his hand and says, we have been talking this whole time and I still have not introduced myself properly. A pleasure to meet you. I am Kane, a wandering wizard. I reach out and take his hand. I tell him my name is Turan and I am a shepherd. I am 18. When he hears my age, he offers his own. 75. I tell him he does not look it. He says wizards live a little longer than ordinary people and age a little slower. I ask him why he became a wanderer. He tells me that after 60 years of service to House Arabian, he chose to walk away. He wanted to spend his later years drifting from place to place, with no ties and no fixed home. And so we sit and trade stories with each other. It is the most enjoyable conversation I have had in my entire life. Before long, the light outside has faded to evening. Kane rises to his feet and says it is time for him to head out. He sets a coin on the table. He tells me it is an Arabian silver coin, one of the purest in circulation. More than enough to cover the meal. I stand and thank him. May your hunt go well. He stops at the door and turns back. I will probably be around for a few more days, so I may come back and freeload a few more meals. A few days later, I let the flock out as usual, and once they have eaten and drunk their fill, I call out, gather up, and the sheep all lift their heads at once and drift toward me. I still feel the warmth from yesterday's conversation. It is the first time I have ever met a wizard, and the first time I have ever enjoyed talking with someone so much. An ease and humor always flow through his words. He possesses a polish and sophistication that none of the adults in the village can match, and over these few days of talking I realize he is genuinely a good person. I used to think knights were nothing more than emotionless hunting dogs trained by arrogant nobles. That makes it a little hard to figure out how to tell him. There is no monster left on Mount Hisariel. Meanwhile, Kane is out searching for the monster's trail. But something is off. There are clear signs of a battle here, yet he cannot sense a single trace of presence. Has the monster already been killed? Then who did it? Did the chief hire another wizard besides him? He lets out a quiet breath of relief. He doesn't care who killed it. What matters is that this place is safe. But then something catches his senses. He spins around, and a razor-sharp claw tears into view. Its owner is a grotesque monster, its skull split open by a massive wound, jagged fangs growing out along the gash. Kane stares, unsettled. A monster's wraith. Who in the world left it like this? Before he can even finish the thought, the wraith's claws drive straight at him and crash into the spot where he was standing with a bone-shaking slam. Kane thinks, why didn't whoever killed this monster absorb or dispel the mana left in the corpse? Any wizard who hunts monsters should know to do that. So why leave the body to become a wraith? Or is he just a rookie knight who didn't know that leaving a corpse's mana unabsorbed would turn it into a wraith? Or maybe they had other intentions entirely. Either way, he has to destroy it now. A gleaming golden sword materializes in Kane's grip, and he drives it straight at the wraith. But the moment it makes contact, the sword shatters to dust. Kane is stunned. His magic, useless. Does this wraith's mana actually surpass his own? In the next instant, the wraith vanishes completely. Kane sweeps his eyes across the surroundings. Where did it go? Then bubbles begin to rise from beneath Kane's own shadow, and a savage claw reaches up out of the darkness below him. Kane reacts just in time before the strike lands. He looks at the wound on his hand, shaken. This is not something an ordinary knight could handle. At minimum, a low-ranking noble would be needed to have any real chance against it. Never did he expect to encounter a wraith of this level in a remote mountain village like this. Life truly is full of surprises. He lowers his head, jaw set. He will not go down quietly. If I die, I am taking you with me. He pours every last drop of mana into his palm, waiting for the wraith to lunge, so he can drive straight into its vital point. But just as the wraith's claw tears free, and he readies his most powerful strike, at that razor's edge of a moment, a flash of blue light bursts through the trees, and drives clean through the wraith's skull. Kane stares breathless. That terrifying wraith, just like that, it is gone. Then a voice reaches him. Are you alright? When he sees it's me, he lets out a quiet breath. The joke about the shepherd being a wizard wasn't a joke after all. So Turan, are you a wizard? I reel in my whip and confirm it. He wants to know why I did not tell him sooner. I say nothing, so he changes the question. Why did you help me? You could have just walked away. I murmur to myself, it must be because I'm too kind-hearted. I think back to a conversation we had before. I asked him why he went so far out of his way. With his abilities, he could earn far more money with far less effort. Why agree to come all the way out here and hunt a monster for a village chief? He laughed and said, those people have nothing. Living somewhere this isolated, stripped of even basic protection, it's nothing short of a tragedy. At that, I chimed in, telling him it wasn't his fault. But he said wizards are people who inherited the power of the divine by nature, so it falls on them to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Not every wizard sees it that way, he admitted, but he believed a person person has to have their own convictions, their own way of living. I echo it back to him. A person has to have their own convictions, their own way of living. Just then, the wraith that had collapsed lurches up and hurls itself at us. We dodge the blow, and he tells me to listen carefully. This wraith is in a completely different league from us. Only a noble would stand a chance against it. He wants me to go warn the chief and get everyone evacuated immediately. He will stay and hold it here. He knows it was a bold claim and has no idea how long he can last, but he plants his feet all the same. Then I say, it's all right, and I push my mana forward. He stares at me, stunned. That last strike was not even my full strength. A young knight living in seclusion on a mountain, capable of hunting a wraith that would make even a noble think twice. This is what runs through the Night Kane's mind. Because what he is witnessing is not the bluster of some mountain boy, nor the recklessness of a young knight on the run from nobles. What he is looking at right now may be the beginning of something that turns the world of wizards upside down. One by one, the stones scattered across the ground begin to rise, lifted slowly into the air by my mana. And for the first time, I feel an urgent need to know, just where are my limits? Kane wastes no time. He refuses to let me fight alone. No matter how gifted I am, this wraith is a formidable opponent. We have to take it on together. But then, with a thunderous bang, he realizes he is only getting in the way. He did not even manage to react to that last attack. Knowing he cannot contribute, Kane makes a decision to let my talent take the stage. As I weave through the wraith's relentless attacks, he calls out, "A wraith cannot be killed by physical force." I shout back, "Then what do I use?" "Fire," he says, "or lightning." The moment he finishes, I summon a surge of flame directly onto the wraith, but it does not even leave a mark. I call out, "That did nothing." It dawns on him, I do not even know the most basic fundamentals of being a wizard. Something clicks in Kane's mind. Was it Turan who killed this monster and left behind the wraith? If so, that means Turan has never absorbed mana in his entire life. He tells me to stop attacking for now. Condense the flame first, then fire it. I hear him, and in an instant, a small fireball takes shape in my palm. I raise my hand toward the sky and the fireball begins to spin rapidly. I step forward with my left foot and hurl the fireball at the wraith with my right hand. A thunderous boom, and the wraith's entire body erupts in a massive blaze. Kane shouts from nearby, "Don't let up, keep pouring mana into it. Burn every last piece of this wraith to nothing." I follow his lead and keep the inferno blazing. Watching it all, Kane finally exhales. We won. That wraith, the kind that would take at least noble level power to face, has been put down just like that, by a shepherd boy from a forgotten mountain village. He urges me without delay, "If you don't want to deal with another wraith, absorb its mana now." I ask him how. He tells me to stand before the remains and imagine drawing something into myself. I close my eyes slowly and let the image form. A soft green glow rises from the wraith's remains and flows toward my open palm. The moment my eyes open, I feel a surge of something extraordinary flood through every part of me. Kane speaks up behind me. "Feels like a rush through your whole body, doesn't it? Had I not seen it myself, I'd never have believed it. This is really your first time absorbing mana. Mana does grow slowly with age after the first awakening, but the fastest way to get stronger is to hunt monsters or wizards and absorb their mana. That is what makes this so incomprehensible to Kane, that I could command magic of that level without ever having absorbed a single drop of mana. My potential is something else entirely." He calls my name, Turan. "I owe you an apology for my earlier disrespect. If I may ask, which house do you come from?" The word house leaves me puzzled, but even so, I remind him, "Kane, tend to your wounds first." Only when I say it does he remember. His arm is still bleeding steadily. Back at my home, I bandage it for him. He looks embarrassed, unable to understand why someone of my standing would do this for him. I tell him with a tired sigh, "I have said this many times. I am not someone of high standing. I am just a shepherd who does not even know who his father is, so please stop saying that." Caught in my steady glare, he eventually gives in, but he still cannot help wondering, why would a wizard as powerful as me choose to be a shepherd? Not that he means any disrespect, it just seems like a waste. I tell him it was my mother's dying wish. She asked me to live this way right up until the moment she was gone. He looks genuinely surprised, unsure why any mother would make such a request. So I explain it to him in my mother's own words. He listens, and then says, "Your mother made a wise choice." That catches me off guard. I expected him to call it overprotective, but he shakes his head. He tells me, "Wizards carry great power, but power always brings conflict. More than 20 years ago, a great war broke out between several noble houses. The house I served, House Arabian, went to war against House Zahar. Countless people lost their lives. Of the more than 3,000 Arabian knights who fought, over 900 never came home. What made it even more devastating, everyone I was close to was among those 900. My friend always said he would open a laundry when the war was over. My teacher never stopped scolding me, told me I still had so much left to learn, and my wife and my son, all of them slaughtered by House Zahar. I was the only one who made it out. So in a way, your mother was right. A knight's life can end more easily and more meaninglessly than any ordinary person's. But there is one thing she was wrong about, and that is your talent. I'll admit, it might sound like I'm exaggerating in my current state, but I have a pretty sharp memory as a knight, yet compared to you, someone who has never once absorbed mana, I'm nothing. So you should understand by now just how powerful your gift is. At the very least, it's on par with the nobles. And even among nobles, your talent would rank among the finest. This surprises me. Does that mean my father wasn't a knight after all? At that, Kane slowly rises to his feet. In rare cases, a noble can have a child weaker than a knight, and a knight can have a child of noble caliber. So in a sense, I think you should leave this place and see the world beyond. I ask him why. He tells me that humanity needs more nobles and knights, because humans have yet to fully claim dominion over this world. The other races driven out by the gods long ago still wait for their chance to rise again, yet the nobles of today do nothing but fight among themselves. That is exactly why this age desperately needs nobles who are both powerful and compassionate, nobles like you. And above all else, you're not content with being a shepherd, are you? His words leave me quiet for a moment. Then I ask, what can I find down there? He says it depends entirely on what I want. Wealth, glory, power, family, friendship, none of these are easy to come by up here, are they? Imagine traveling the world as I do, hunting down the monsters that threaten humanity, or become an adventurer who chases the unknown, or be taken in by a noble house and walk the path of power. Hearing this, something clicks. All of that sounds far more interesting than herding sheep up here. Thank you. You're the first person to make me genuinely curious about the world out there. At that, Kane tells me he will support whatever path I choose. Then he asks what my bloodline ability is. Seeing the confusion on my face, he catches himself. My apologies, I keep forgetting you don't know anything about magic. A bloodline ability is a trait nobles inherit from their ancestors, the Freyans. It's also what distinguishes a noble from a knight. He finishes speaking and conjures a small fireball in his palm, then asks, when you use magic, is there any spell that feels unusually effortless? Or perhaps some ability that feels unique? I run through what he said in my mind. I tell him my sense of smell is exceptionally sharp, and that I can throw stones with remarkable accuracy. He says that if my sense of smell is truly extraordinary, it could very well be a bloodline ability. Mastery of ranged weapons is one of House Arabian's defining traits, though it's actually quite a common one. He presses for more details, and as I answer each one, I notice his expression darken. I ask him what's wrong. He says he might know which house my bloodline most closely resembles. I ask him to tell me. He tells me it is a great house, the ones known as the Trackers, or Hunters. House Zahar, the same house that had once waged war against House Arabian. His words stopped me cold. I never could have imagined that my house could be House Zahar, the house that had killed everyone Kane ever loved. I'm at a loss for words. An apology? But those were the acts of family I've never even met. People who are practically strangers to me. Then he speaks. Tehran, there's no need for that look on your face. You had no part in that war. I know exactly what he's saying, but still, words fail me. He offers that familiar smile of his. That's just how the adult world works. If we answer blood with blood and hatred with hatred, the fighting never ends. I ask him, does he have any doubts about me going down the mountain? He places a hand on my shoulder. If you go down there and pursue power, it's all but inevitable that you'll end up joining House Zahar. After all, your talent is extraordinary. But I trust your character. You saved my life, even at the cost of revealing the identity you'd hidden your whole life. Someone like you, rising to a position of power within House Zahar, might just be enough to stop a terrible war from breaking out again. Don't think too much about it for now, though. You haven't decided to join House Zahar yet. It's then that I tell him I think I've made up my mind. I want to try going down the mountain, but not yet. I'll wait until your wounds heal. He insists it's just a few scratches, but he doesn't turn down my offer. And so, it begins. Every day, Kane teaches me the fundamentals of magic. He tells me that to use magic, one must possess mana, the key to all magic. But even mana comes in different forms. Whatever magic you wish to wield, you need the right kind of mana for it. I ask him what determines compatibility. He explains, magic compatibility comes down to three main factors: bloodline, affinity, and causality. The first, bloodline, is determined by the blood you are born with. This applies to most nobles outside the knight class. Take my wounds, for example. Healing them would be difficult for you, yes? But for those of the Southern Ravista bloodline, it is something they can do effortlessly, even without training. That is the power of bloodline. I take this in, then ask about the second factor, affinity. He rises to his feet. Think of it as how skilled you are with it. And the last, and most important, is causality. It's something even I don't fully understand. What do you think would happen if you tried to kill me with mana alone? I say maybe my head would glow for a moment, and then nothing. He places his hand over a cup. That is precisely what happens when there's no causality behind it. When the desired outcome has no proper cause, or when the goal is simply too difficult to reach, this is what happens. Something clicks. I tell him I think I understand causality now. If I wanted to kill you, instead of wasting mana on a vague wish for your death, I should give it a concrete cause, like burning you to ash with fire. Is that right? Kane can't help but praise. To grasp causality this quickly, talent like that would make an outstanding scholar. I then mention that I can control ordinary animals at will. What would it take to control monsters? And so, our exchange continues. I never imagined that learning magic would be this difficult. A skilled wizard must not only know how to wield mana, they must understand the principles behind it and know exactly when to apply them. Then something comes to mind, and I ask Kane whether the Zahar bloodline has any unique abilities. Without much hesitation, he tells me, stealth and tracking. He tells me to try it now. I close my eyes and picture it in my mind, invisible to all eyes. My sound and scent, undetectable. Slowly, my form begins to fade. I vanish right before Kane's eyes. Kane stares at the empty space. You did it! I can't see you at all. Then, after a moment, my form slowly reappears. He shakes his head in admiration. This ability is as terrifying as ever. During the war, it was what the knights of House Arabian feared most. It is powerful, but remember, it is not invincible. Now let me teach you some methods to train your magic. At that I ask him, why would he share so much with a wizard from a rival house? He simply says that I saved his life, even treated his wounds, and above all, he trusts my character. Not long after, the village elder is surprised to hear I intend to sell my sheep and leave. He demands to know why I made this decision without consulting anyone. Who is going to tend the flock after I'm gone? I tell him to find another shepherd himself. Besides, what I do with my own property is none of their business. But regardless, I expect a fair price for the sheep. Otherwise, I'll release every last one of them and walk away. Of course, you're welcome to round them up yourselves, but that won't be easy. The elder knows I'm a man of my word. Pushing me won't do him any good, so he counts out the money. With that settled, I prepare to leave with Cain. On the road, I bring up that the villagers seem to still owe him a commission. I offer to go collect it for him. He waves it off. He never intended to collect it in the first place. Besides, the one who killed the monster wasn't him. It was me. This is where we part ways. I'm sorry. I have to decline your company. I prefer to travel alone. I meet his gaze. That's all right, and thank you for everything you've taught me. He gives me an easy, warm smile. Take care of yourself out there. You too. I hope we meet again someday. And so I watch Cain's figure fade into the distance. It isn't until much later that I realize why I respected Cain so much. I never lacked for a mother's love, but deep down, I always longed for a father figure. A few days after parting with Cain, the road leads me to a barren wasteland. Fine dust hangs in the air, making it hard to see ahead. That's when I spot a group of traveling merchants. I decide to approach them and ask for directions. I walk up and ask how to get to the nearest city. The elderly man at the front tells me to head back the way they came, and I'll reach a city called Murray. I thank him and start to leave, but before I can take 2 steps, they call out to stop me. You got what you needed and you're just going to walk off? Don't you think you owe us something in return? The words barely leave his mouth before the men around me draw their blades, demanding I drop the stuffed pack on my back. I look at them, genuinely puzzled. Is this a robbery? And what if it is? The leader says. This is the wasteland. A few deaths out here mean nothing, so while we can still talk this out, drop the pack. Don't make us kill you first and strip you after. That gets messy. At that, my eyes go cold. In that instant, everything Cain taught me comes rushing back. I smile at them. What? Are you volunteering to be my practice? The group bursts out laughing. Did you hear this lunatic? He thinks he's some kind of wizard. I raise my hand slowly. The moment I utter the word wind, their bodies are hurled into the air. I think to myself, Cain's lessons really do work. This way uses less mana. Such a small amount of mana, and yet, a wind powerful enough to send men flying. Then I uncap my canteen and use mana to draw the water out. I spread it out, then freeze it solid. A ring of ice spikes forms around me. The bandits stare in horror, but before any of them can run, the ice spikes drive straight through them. Just as I'm about to keep going, the bandit leader scrambles to surrender. He says they had no idea I was a wizard and begs for forgiveness, but his words are barely out before his men rush me from behind, weapons raised. I lift my right foot, then I slam it down. Spikes of earth erupt around me and drive through their bodies. The bandit leader goes pale. How is this possible? How are they dead already? I tell him I have a question. After that one-sided fight, the bandit leader has no fight left in him. He drops to his knees and says he'll answer anything. I ask him, why did they attack me for no reason? Did it never occur to them that a lone traveler might be a wizard? He answers immediately, because you bowed your head. Even when we spoke to you like that, you still lowered your head and thanked us, so we assumed you were just an ordinary person. I thank him for that. It taught me something valuable. A flicker of hope crosses his face. Then, will you let me go? But the words aren't even finished before he sees water droplets gathering above his head. Because Cain had told me that once my journey began, I would meet all kinds of people. But for those who prey on others, parasites like them, I must never go soft. A life spared out of pity could go on to harm 10 or 100 innocent people, so I don't hesitate. I kill him. I follow the tracks their cart left behind and press on. My mind is turbulent. I have killed people. Guilt stirs in me, but I could not have let them go. Cain's warning echoes in my head. People who rob and kill without a second thought for profit, they will always find their next target. The cart tracks fade into the desert scrub as weeds reclaim the earth. And as I recall Cain's teachings, the storm inside me slowly settles. Then I step into a new world. My face goes wide with wonder. So this is Murray, the city the bandit leader mentioned? I stare around like a wide-eyed newcomer taking in a whole new world. It's the first time I've ever seen so many people gathered in one place. In these buildings, nothing like the ones back in the village. The unfamiliar surroundings leave me unsure of my next move. Then Cain's words come to me. Clear as day. He had told me that whenever I arrived somewhere new and needed rest, I should find an inn. Every village and city would have one. So I turn and approach the fruit stall nearby. The vendor greets me politely, asking what I need. But the moment he realizes I'm not there to buy anything, his attitude does a complete 180. He tells me to get out of his way if I'm not buying. I'm genuinely baffled. Why is he so rude? Is there some unspoken rule in the city that you have to buy fruit before asking a question? I point to the apples beside him and ask the price. The moment I pull out coins, his tone softens. You look like you're not from around here. Something you want to ask? I press a silver coin into his palm and ask where I can find an inn. He says to follow the road behind the cloak shop, go straight, then turn left. I'll see a building with a blue roof. That's the biggest inn in the city. When I arrive at the inn, I'm greeted by a staff member named Lena, who welcomes me with a warm smile. I ask how much it costs to stay for one night. She clasps her hands together with a bright smile. 16 dubits. I count out the amount and hand it over. Then I ask if there are any bounties nearby for hunting monsters. The reason I ask is simple. I need to hunt monsters and absorb their mana. And Cain had mentioned that taking on bounties was also a way to earn money. She goes quiet. I press her. She smiles. Nothing in this world is free, sir. I hand her some coins. She tells me that to take on bounties I should go to the town hall. It handles all public affairs, and everyone who works there is employed by the city lord. The sun's already down, so it's probably closed for the night. If you want a monster bounty, head there tomorrow. Lena then asks, curious, whether I'm a monster hunter. I have no idea what she means by that. She explains, ordinary people who kill monsters can supposedly become wizards. So are you hoping to become one? Though honestly, that's just a rumor people spread to fool the gullible. At that moment, a hand lands on my shoulder. A man's voice cuts in. Those rumors are true. Becoming a wizard by killing monsters. I've seen it with my own eyes. Lena stares at him in disbelief. Midan, you're still alive? Midan grins. Haven't I told you? I'm not dying until I become a wizard. I lift his hand off my shoulder. I ask him, is it really true that killing monsters can turn an ordinary person into a wizard? He tells me that wizards must kill monsters to grow stronger. By the same logic, an ordinary person who kills monsters can become a wizard too. The four of us are out hunting monsters, all to become powerful wizards. I ask him, has anyone actually succeeded? Hardly, he says. In this whole city, only the lord and his 3 subordinates are wizards. Then he looks me over. You said you want to hunt monsters? With that gear? That's rough. I don't argue. He's not wrong. My only weapon is a slingshot, good for launching things roughly the size of an egg, but he invites me anyway. Says their team is short a shooter, and if I'm interested, I'm welcome to join their hunt. I decline, straight up. There's no reason I need to hunt with them. I lie back on the bed and go over everything that happened today. The world out there is chaotic. Even now, I can hardly believe I've actually left the village. It fills me with curiosity about everything still to come. Then comes a knock at the door. I sit up and ask who's there. Before we parted, Kane had warned me never to let my guard down, not even inside an inn. A city is not an absolutely safe place. So he had drilled it into me, always proceed with caution. I take no chances. Mana gathers in my left hand as my right reaches for the door. The moment it swings open, I find Lena standing there. She asks if I was asleep, saying she worried the room might be a little cold and thought she'd come keep me warm. I stare at her. What exactly do you mean by that? She says it means exactly what it sounds like. A little coin and she'll do anything. I tell her I don't want anything. She tells me to stop lying. She can tell just by looking at my face. But when she looks up and meets my eyes, she finds me utterly unmoved. My resolve as steady and silent as a monk in deep meditation. It stops her cold. And yes, this too was Kane's warning. He had told me to always be cautious with women of this kind at inns. Most of them carry disease. A wizard's constitution is strong enough that it poses no real threat, but once contracted, it could be passed on to other girls. So Kane had reminded me again and again, don't let desire push me into something I'll regret. This makes me think, life in a big city really is something else. First the fruit vendor, now Lena. I never imagined that even a scrap of information or a simple conversation would come with a price tag. This city is a cold place. Just then, my sharp ears catch sounds drifting in from the stairwell. Someone is talking to Midan. Hey, why did you want to bring that guy along earlier? Honestly, he didn't look like he'd be much use. Another voice joins in, right? The guy was pretty full of himself too. Maybe he'd work as bait for the monsters. But Midan's voice is different. He reminded me of myself when I was young. So when I heard he wanted to hunt monsters with that weapon, I got a little worried. I can't do much, but at least I can help him live a little longer. Lying there on the bed, taking all of this in, I realize this city may not be as cold as it seems. The next day, I head to the town hall Lena mentioned. The clerk on duty looks up as I approach and asks what I need. I tell him I'm here to take on a bounty. I want to hunt monsters. Kane had told me this too. This world has no obligation to be kind to anyone. If you want people to treat you well, let people know you're a wizard. Ordinary people will bow to you. The town hall clerk hands me the bounty sheet then, adds flatly, you come into this world with nothing, and you leave it the same way. As I look over the sheet, the clerk clearly doubts I'll actually manage to kill a monster. Still, he reminds me, if I do kill a monster, bring the body back into the city. If a wizard doesn't clear the remaining mana, the corpse will turn into a wraith. By city law, abandoning a monster's corpse is punishable by the highest penalty. Not that he needed to tell me. I know exactly how terrifying a monster becomes once it turns into a wraith. I have no intention of making that mistake. Still, something puzzles me. I ask, shouldn't it be the knights who handle monster hunting? He gives me a tired look. You think they have nothing better to do? A knight's duty is to maintain order within the city. Dealing with monsters outside the walls. That's what the likes of you are for. He watches me walk away, muttering under his breath. Off he goes. Looks like there'll be another body outside the walls soon. Not long after I return, with the monster from the bounty sheet, the clerk stares. That's impossible. How is this possible? How did you bring it back this fast? Did you kill it alone? I confirm it without hesitation. I ask how to collect the reward. Another clerk scrambles to the counter. Right away! He retrieves the bounty for the 3-legged crow and places it in my hand. Even after it's all done, they keep staring at the monster's body, stunned by how intact it is. They notice I haven't moved. Why are you still here? I ask if there are any other monster bounties available. They stare at me, dumbfounded. You can keep going? A few days later, Lena sets out a full spread of food, beaming with excitement. She never imagined someone like me could take down 30 monsters in just 3 days. You must have made a fortune, right? I tell her money isn't my only goal. More precisely, what I was after was the mana of those monsters. And thanks to them, I've grown considerably stronger. Compared to when I first met Kane, my mana has increased several-fold. I stare at my palm. I know I've reached my limit. If I keep hunting weak monsters for mana, I won't get any stronger. Lena's cheeks are flushed, clearly wanting to say something, but when she looks up, she finds the table nearly cleared. I may look thin, but I can eat a surprising amount. The cook is delighted. He hasn't had a chance to cook this much in a long time. Just as I finish and turn turn to head back to my room. A large hand grabs me by the back of the collar. The owner of that hand looks me over. Finished already? Word is you've been making good money lately. How about sharing some with the rest of us? Before he can finish, I bring my hand down like a blade across his face. He cries out instantly. I look at the group. You want money? Come and get it. Another one swings a fist at me. Don't get too cocky. I dodge and drive a heavy punch back into him. The first man rages, snatching up a stool and swinging it at my head, but it doesn't reach me. I catch it midair with one hand. Then I raise my left hand and flick my finger. A sharp snap sends him flying across the room. Right at that moment, Lena shouts at the top of her lungs, "No fighting in the inn!" Midan arrives shortly after, rushing in and offering me an apology. He says he's dealt with the two of them and promises nothing like this will happen again. Things have been tight for us lately. I think seeing you do so well made them a little jealous. He signals the two men to come and apologize. I ask if things are really that bad. He says they're just short on cash for now, but in 3 days, we probably won't be able to cover the room. Without a second thought, I pull out a pouch of coins and hand it to him. He's baffled. Why would I do this? I explain that it's to repay his kindness. He'd said he was worried about my safety and wanted to bring me along. He starts to ask how I knew that, but I cut him off. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Give me some information in return. He doesn't hesitate for a second. Gathering information is my specialty. I'll tell you everything I know. A few more days pass. By now I've decided to leave Murray after this next hunt. Midan has given me what I need to know about the next city. It's time to move on. And the information he shared turned out to be far more useful than I expected. Midan really is a good man. He may not be as experienced as Kane, but that only makes him all the more pure and kind. Just then, my nose catches something. Unease stirs in me. I can only hope I'm wrong. When I reach a tree scored with deep monster claw marks, I scan the area carefully. Then I see him. A figure slumped against the base of the trunk, soaked in blood. I stop. Isn't this one of the people from Midan's group? In an instant I know my fear was right. I look at the body. Dead for some time now. I murmur quietly, what happened here? And where is Midan? Then from behind another tree, a man's trembling voice breaks the silence. A rabbit. It was a rabbit. I spot it in the distance, something crouching over another corpse feeding. The monster rabbit is covered in thick, goat-like fur. Its ears and limbs are studded with sharp fang-like protrusions. I tense up immediately. Then it launches itself at me. I hurl myself to the side. Even midair, I'm shocked. That speed. How was it so fast? That was almost a direct hit. The moment my feet hit the ground, I lash out with my hurting whip. My left foot steps back, and I shift into a striking stance. In a flash, the whip cracks forward. Several stones hurtle toward it, but it swats them apart with rapid, effortless strikes. I never expected this. Not just the speed, but the combat instincts. It's not just fast. It knows how to fight. It rears back, coiling its legs, and lunges at me again, but it never sees it coming. I vanish right where I stand. It skids to a halt, and I reappear directly behind it, short blade already swinging. The blade drives into its neck. I kick off and retreat in an instant. The instant I vanish again, it slams into where I just stood. Its claws tear through a tree trunk, splitting it clean in half. Then it unleashes the same assault again, over and over, wild and relentless. Suddenly a gaping hole appears in the once dense forest, but it finds no trace of me. It throws its head back and lets out a piercing shriek. Blood pours from the wound in its neck. It staggers, then finally collapses. Only then does my figure emerge in the distance. After observing it carefully, I level my palm at it, a thought flickering through my mind. In an instant, a surge of energy rises from the corpse and flows into my palm. This mana is completely different from what I absorbed before, far greater than what I took from the leopard I'd encountered the first time. Then, a voice sounds in my ear. I can't believe it. You're a wizard, but why are you hiding your identity? I pay it no mind. With a trace of regret, I ask him, which of you four needs me to deliver your belongings to your family? He only manages a faint no before his breathing fades. I look at Midan's body lying before me. I recall what he told me before, about a great city nearby called Orem, and within it, a place known as the library. It is said to hold tens of thousands of books, but the library isn't open to just anyone. He told me that only wizards are allowed inside. Back then, I wondered if I should go there and see it for myself, but now, I've made up my mind. I will go to the great city Midan spoke of, Orem. That warm-hearted burly man, who showed kindness even to strangers, is now gone. I can't help but feel a sense of regret. I hope he rests in peace and happiness. A few days later, I arrive at a new place and join the line to enter. I once thought a place like Murray was already impressive enough, but now, something even more breathtaking stands before me. It's the great city of Orem. Even entering the city requires standing in line, and the crowd is massive. I watch the guards at the gate checking for wanted criminals, as expected of a great city. Even the security is this thorough, I think. But when my turn finally comes, the guard actually stops me. He says he's never seen clothes this filthy before, and tells me to step aside and clean up before entering. After some time, I make my way into Orem and find the library Midan had told me about. The awe-inspiring structure before me makes me wonder, could this have been built by magic? I spot the guard stationed at the entrance. I approach and tell him I wish to enter. The guard informs me that the library is reserved for wizards only. I explain that I am a wizard, but the guard isn't buying it. He fixes me with a suspicious glare. How could someone like you possibly be a wizard? If you dare to impersonate one, I won't let you get away with it. The words have barely left his mouth when a surge of red mana materializes in his palm. I simply lift my gaze. A surge of overwhelming power bursts from me. In an instant, the color drains from his face. He slumps to the ground, and the other guard beside him rushes over, asking what is wrong. Only then does he realize, my true power is on par with nobility. No, even higher. He scrambles to his feet, visibly shaken, and bows his head head respectfully. I am a knight of House Kenyawate. May I ask which house you belong to, my lord? I ask if I need to state my house to enter. He says it isn't, but to use the library I would need the permission of Lord Waltus. What I hadn't expected though was that obtaining Lord Waltus's permission, which I had been told was a simple formality, would turn out to be far more than I had bargained for. Entirely unused to being waited on, I turn to the maids and say, "You can stop, I'll wash up myself." They shrink back nervously, and explain that they will face severe punishment if they fail to properly attend to a distinguished guest. Hearing that, I awkwardly relent and let them carry on. Before long, the maids tending to me are staring with wide, startled eyes. I ask if there is something on my face. They quickly bow and say, "Please forgive us, my lord. We were momentarily lost in admiration. You are simply far too handsome. Not one for noble airs." I tell them not to think anything of it. Just then, a door at the far end of the room opens, and two figures walk toward me. The petite girl at the front sizes me up and speaks first. "So you're the guest who looked like a beggar? Clean you up, and you've almost got the air of a prince." I introduce myself first. "My name is Turan." She gives me hers in return, Angela. She then asks which house I belong to. I tell her that for personal reasons I'd rather not say. She seems a little disappointed. "Hiding your true identity, huh? Then let me have a little fun." Without warning, a powerful surge of mana erupts from her body. She wants to see just how strong I really am. But in the very next instant, an equal force rises around me, matching her blow for blow. Angela's guard instantly steps in front of the maids, shielding them. When both surges of power fade, I let out a helpless sigh, but Angela lets out a sharp gasp. She can't believe it. Even after taking a moment to recover, her hand is still trembling. Then she looks at me with a smile spreading across her face. "Would you like to marry me?" she asks. The question leaves me completely dumbfounded. Seeing me stand there in silence, Angela grins mischievously. "Relax. It was just a joke. Why so flustered?" Her guard can only look on helplessly. Still, she adds that I should think it over. She still has an open spot by her side. With that, she turns and walks away. As her figure disappears into the distance, I finally lower my gaze. My own hand, just like hers, is trembling slightly. So her mana is on par with mine, but I have no idea if that's normal for a wizard. Not long after, I am brought before Ruge Waltus, the city lord of Orem. He had already been informed of my purpose, so he simply asked for my name. After a brief introduction from me, he says plainly, "Many people have been flocking here lately after hearing strange rumors, but the truth is, the library holds no ancient magic of wonder, nor any secret method for enhancing mana." I tell him I have no problem with that. Satisfied with my answer, he readily agrees. He adds that it is already late, and suggests I rest for the night and visit tomorrow. The next day, the two guards stationed at the library greet me respectfully and invite me inside. As the doors swing open, the moment I look up, I am met with the most breathtaking sight I have ever seen in my life. At the center of the tower-shaped library, a winding staircase spirals endlessly upward, twisting past row upon row of shelves and mountains of ancient texts, all the way to where a shaft of light pours down from the vaulted ceiling above. I can't help but breathe out in awe. "So this is the library." Just then a voice comes from beside me. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Turan. I am the librarian here. Lord Waltus mentioned your visit and asked me to walk you through the rules of this place." Her words catch me off guard. How could a child be the librarian of a place like this? But she continues without missing a beat. "The rules are simple, just two. First, any damage must be paid for in full. Second, no books may be taken outside, so I'll be keeping an eye on you the whole time you're here." Taking her attitude and words in, I agree without hesitation, adding a request. "Fine, but could you stand a bit farther away while I read? It makes me a bit uncomfortable." "Since you're the librarian, I suppose you've read all the books here," she answers with complete confidence. "Of course. Finding books is what I do best. Ask me anything you need." "So what kind of book are you looking for? Romance? History? Or maybe, because you're still so young, something a little spicy?" I fall silent for a moment. Then I tell her I want to learn the basics, knowledge about the world. In just a moment, she brings back an enormous pile of books. "Many of the books here are hundreds of years old," she says. "I'm not sure if they're right for you, but this selection should help." I thank her. I reach into the pile and pull out a book at random. My fingertips trace the rough cover. The coolness beneath its warmth gives me a small start. So this is what a book feels like. As I begin to flip through the pages, I find myself more and more amazed by this thing called a book. After that, I spent every day doing the same thing, reading quietly in the library. Book after book, I gradually came to understand the geography of this world, the ways different races lived, the etiquette of wizards, the methods of crafting and processing all manner of things. Even the monsters and ruins of the old era became familiar to me. As knowledge accumulated, the world before my eyes, once nothing but a fog of chaos and unknowns, began to grow clearer, piece by piece. Mountains and rivers gained names, races gained histories. Even the wind brushing past my cheeks seemed to carry secrets I could now begin to read. When Lord Rug meets me again, he nods approvingly. "It seems you've made good use of the library." "I don't deny it," he goes on. "I hope you understand. My reasons for granting you access went beyond simply recognizing you as a noble. There was also a measure of goodwill involved. Naturally, I hope that goodwill is returned." Hearing this, I ask what he needs from me. He tells me that a monster has appeared to the north of Orem preying on travelers. He had previously sent 4 knights to deal with it, but every one of them was devoured. What he needs now is a noble to handle it personally. Right now, only 2 members of his house are available. This is what he wants in return. He asks if there's anything I need in exchange. I tell him I don't need anything. Still, something feels off. A noble rank wizard would not typically get involved in something like this. Noticing my expression, he explains that the monsters have blocked the northern road, Orum's most vital trade route. It has been 10 days now, and he wants it cleared as quickly as possible. Suddenly it all makes sense. 10 days ago, I hadn't even arrived in Orum yet, so that's why he granted me access to the library so readily. The next day, I march out of the city gates with the group. At the front, Angela lazily stretches her arms above her head. Father really is one of a kind. Dragging a guest along to hunt monsters? Are we really that unreliable? Then she glances at me and clarifies that she isn't blaming me. She just thinks her father is overreacting. The person beside her looks like he wants to say something, but Angela shoots him a sharp look and he immediately falls silent. The man then turns to me and gives a quick introduction. His name is Marvin Waltus, but just then, Angela is idly kicking at pebbles by her feet, muttering that she just wants to get this over with and go rest. Marvin, standing beside me, asks if I have any interest in his sister. I say no. A smile crosses his face. Good to hear, that's a relief. Suddenly, the scouts at the front report something ahead. When we look, we find a wrecked wagon. The scouts deduce that the monster likely left this here intentionally, a warning to stop anyone from heading north. I examine the scene for a moment. A handprint on the wrecked wood tells me exactly what we're dealing with. I tell the group, it's a monkey. Angela looks puzzled behind me. I point to the handprint. It attacked the merchants and retreated into the forest. If we find its trail and follow it, we should be able to track it down quickly. Neither Angela nor Marvin seems capable of tracking. I pick up a scrap of cloth from the wreckage and tell them I can give it a shot. Angela perks up immediately. Is that your bloodline ability? I simply tell her I'm just more practiced at tracking than most. With that, I bring the cloth up to my nose. In an instant, I pick up the monster's trail. I point in a direction and tell them to head that way. Before long, we reach a stream. I speak up again. The monster stopped here. It must have washed itself. Angela is visibly surprised. A monster washing itself to throw off a tracker? I tell her it probably just wanted to wash up. Right at that moment, I spin around, my voice rising sharply. Watch out, behind you! In an instant, a massive monkey erupts from the trees with a furious roar. It grabs a handful of rocks, and as the soldiers scramble in panic trying to dodge, it hurls them in an instant. 7 or 8 soldiers go down in a single blow. I dart aside, slipping past the flying rocks. When the barrage lets up, I glance over to where Angela is. Both Marvin and Angela have used the soldiers to shield themselves to block the attack. Then they toss the soldiers aside like trash. Their actions only confirm what I already suspected. Mother was right after all. Angela shouts for everyone to attack, and the moment the words leave her mouth, the remaining soldiers charge with weapons raised. But before they can even reach the monster, the monkey turns and bolts in the opposite direction. Angela and Marvin immediately give chase without hesitation, but the monkey is simply too fast. They can't keep up. Suddenly, Angela flinches as something streaks past her at incredible speed. A small stone shoots in from the rear, punches clean through the monkey's chest. Both wizards spin around at the same moment to look back, and standing there is none other than me, cracking a long whip, my expression icy and detached. Only then does Angela finally snap back to reality. She raises her right hand and murmurs a single word. Flame! Fire surges from her body, converging into her palm. In moments, the roaring blaze takes the shape of a massive serpent, which lunges and sinks its jaws into the already wounded monkey. With a thunderous boom, the inferno swallows the monster whole. So that is the fire magic bloodline of House Waltus, I think. The soldiers around us all breathe a collective sigh of relief. Finally, it's over. Angela turns to look at me. That stone flying past us just now sent chills down our spines. Marvin raises an eyebrow. Were you scared? Angela tells him to shut up. He was the one screaming like a little girl. The soldiers begin tending to themselves. The monster's earlier attack left every one of them injured. Some have lost entire arms in the blast. Looking at the grim scene, I think we were lucky. Could have been worse. The only two who actually died were the soldiers Angela and Marvin used as shields. The thought makes me look over at them. A wizard's body is far more resilient than an ordinary soldier's, and yet they didn't hesitate to use those weaker than themselves as shields. Is this what Mother always talked about? Marvin seems to notice my gaze and asks if something is wrong. I tell him it's nothing. Angela overhears and waves me over to join them in absorbing mana. The three of us extend our hands toward the charred remains of the monster. As I absorb some of the mana from the corpse, I confirm what the books had described. Just as written, even when multiple people absorb mana from a single corpse at once, the mana remaining in it doesn't diminish at all. Before long, both Angela and Marvin hit the limit of how much they can absorb. When they turn to see me still absorbing, it dawns on them why their father had wanted me along. That level of spellcasting earlier. A mana capacity that rivals Angela's own. Just thinking about it is astonishing, and I haven't even reached my growth limit as a noble yet. As the sun sinks toward the horizon and dusk settles in, we return to the domain of Orum. On the way back, Marvin remarks that without me, they never would have defeated that monster. From the initial tracking to felling the monster with a single stone, I had been the pivot of every crucial moment. I simply wave it off. It's no big deal. My only regret is spotting it so late that it got the jump on us. I hadn't expected the creature to have tracking abilities of its own. Marvin looks taken aback. Tracking abilities? I explain that you can tell what abilities a monster has awakened just by its features. The monkey we killed had oversized hands and red eyes, completely unlike its natural form. That points to awakened abilities, enhanced striking power and long-range perception, possibly even the ability to see through dense forest. Marvin is genuinely surprised. You figured all that out already? I tell him I simply read one book on monsters while I was in the library. They both look stunned. That place is dead boring. Who would go there? Angela admits she had visited once out of curiosity, but the dense texts inside drove her out before she could even finish half a volume. I suggest that next time they ask the librarian, she might be able to find something easier for them. But the word librarian gives Angela pause. She touches her chin and thinks for a moment. Then she asks me if there is really such a person in the library. I return to the library again. The moment I open the door, the librarian greets me with a beaming smile. Welcome back, Tehran. And that's when it hits me. I had been far too careless. No knight or commoner would ever address a noble by name like that. In this city, the only proper way to address a noble is my lord or my lady. And come to think of it, she doesn't look like a librarian at all. I ask her how she knows my name. Upon hearing this, a slight smile plays on her lips. She leans back against the table. You're only noticing now? I learned your name from your entry permit. Within the bounds of this library, nothing escapes my sight. Hearing that, I ask what I should call her. She says she doesn't actually have a name, so I can call her whatever I like. Maybe something cute, like my darling. I look at her flatly. Then I'll stick with librarian. She asks why I'm suddenly being so formal. It's making her uncomfortable. You've been bossing me around for days. As she leans closer, I step back a few paces. I never did any such thing. And stop getting so close. It makes me uncomfortable. Then I add, I've been wondering, are you a wizard from the old era? At my question, she gives me an answer. I was never human to begin with. Think of me more as a soul. If I inhabit a living creature, I become a living being. If I dwell in something neither alive nor dead, I become a specter. In other words, this library is my body. This form I take now is only for communication. Its appearance is shaped by the preferences of whoever I interact with. So your preferences must lean toward... She doesn't get to finish. I cut her off. Don't twist things. I take a closer look at her. After a moment, I reach out and push my hand through her body. She blinks, visibly confused. Where exactly were you just touching? That is weird. I catch myself and apologize, embarrassed, but it brings something unpleasant to mind for her. You have no idea how frustrating it is to not be able to touch anything. If I could, I'd personally punish every careless fool who has ever walked out of here with a stolen book. Her words confirm my suspicion. So House Waltus has no idea you exist. Actually, neither does anyone who has ever used this library. She doesn't deny it in the slightest. Not a single one of them has ever been qualified to even sense my presence. My creator placed a restriction on me. Only those whose type has reached a certain level of completeness can perceive me. Doesn't it feel a little romantic that I exist only for you to see? The word type leaves me confused. I ask what she means, and she explains. It's simply what wizards call bloodlines. The word bloodline sparks something in me, and I ask if she can tell me what my own bloodline is. She starts to suggest I ask my parents, but I tell her I'm an orphan. At that, she licks the corner of her mouth and says, if you'll allow me to examine your body, I can take a look. The words make me stumble back 2 steps. My reaction draws a strange little smile from her. The next moment, she reaches her small hand into my body. She probes around, muttering strange things under her breath. After a long moment, she finally says, there are a few minor traces, but the dominant bloodline is that of trackers and hunters. So this is the mark of House Sahar. Then she senses something else. It's a mixed bloodline? I ask what mixed means. She explains that it means I am born from 2 different bloodlines. She can't identify the second one though, because it's locked. She tells me that locked bloodlines in a mixed combination aren't uncommon. As I grow stronger, it will unlock on its own. Her words make me think of my mother. Given her refinement and impeccable manners, my mother could never have been a commoner. She must have come from a noble lineage, her bloodline perhaps so diluted that it could no longer sustain even a knight's level of mana. Having understood most of it, I thank her sincerely. She responds by saying if I'm truly grateful, I should stay another month. Now that I know the library spirit's true nature, I no longer read on my own, and instead begin asking her about the contents of the books. Far from minding, she patiently answers every question I have. During this time, I come to realize that the librarian's knowledge goes far beyond anything contained within this place. All the knowledge from books lost over the past 1,000 years has been etched into her mind. For me, this knowledge is nothing short of priceless. Through her, I learned that many illnesses are caused by microorganisms, and that the decay of living things is driven by bacteria feeding on them. More than that, I begin to grasp the fundamental principles behind various phenomena, the refraction of light, the generation of heat through friction, and the processes by which living beings are injured and heal. With this knowledge, I prepare to test it out, the onset of decay. I press my fingertip lightly against an apple in front of me. Within moments, the apple begins to rot. The sight is nothing short of astonishing. This isn't beyond the reach of existing magic, but understanding the underlying principle can cut the mana cost dramatically. The world I see now is entirely different from the one I saw before, and that, in turn, has quietly elevated my abilities as a wizard. Perhaps this is why certain powerful houses choose to monopolize such knowledge. If every wizard had access to it, they would lose their competitive edge. My words seem to spark something in the librarian. No wonder, she says. People's understanding has only declined over time. At that moment, I tell her it's time for me to leave. The master of this place has been dropping obvious hints, telling me to leave. At that, she cries out and begs me to take her with me. I watch her dramatically collapse to the floor. Can you actually leave this place? She admits she can't, but she wants me to stay. If I don't leave, she promises to take very good care of me. I turn her down. She puffs up in frustration and drifts away to the side. She tells me that ruins of the ancient gods lie scattered across this land and suggests I explore them. There, I might encounter spirits far more knowledgeable than her. I push open the library door and tell her I'll be back. She doesn't turn around. Come if you want, don't if you don't. I look back and tell her not to worry. Finally, I still have so many books left to finish. After that, I walk out of this great city. According to the map I obtained from the library, the territory of House Zahar lies within the Emerald Desert, to the east of Orem. That will be my next destination. I will find the answers I need about my parents there.